Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. And today I am reviewing Pánico escénico, which is actually Spanish for Scenic Panic, which is the fifth studio album from Spanish thrash metal band Agresiva. Now, this album was released on January 28th through Demons Records. It'll be the first to be at least the band to release their album on Demons Records after leaving Metataro, since being with them, for like 2 years or so, which was I believe was an Italian label. Okay, so without further ado, let me get into my overall thoughts on Pánico escénico from Agresiva. So let's get right into it. So, before I really get into any of my overall thoughts on this album, you know what I have to do? I have to do a track listing rundown so I can tell you folks where the songs are on this album, how many songs are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. And since we have at least about 10 songs here, it all clocks in at the length of 37 minutes and 6 seconds. So, these 10 songs are, since they pretty much sing these songs in their native language, and they obviously are titled in their native language. I'm not gonna do my best to butcher at least the titles of these songs, because again, I never took the time to really learn Spanish. So what I did was I went and translated these 10 songs, which I've done this trick anyways in the past, anyways, for albums that that weren't given English titles or anything, or sung in English. So what I would do, of course, is just take the titles, throw them through, of course, the Google Translator, and basically just, I guess, to type in or title at least on the side here for the songs here. And that's what you're going to see is you're going to see the original Spanish names for these songs, but you're also going to see the English translations for these songs. And I'm just going to read you here the English translations for these songs. Now, there's at least a few songs here that are a little bit, at least self-explanatory of what they are basically titled, at least about what the meaning for the songs. But still, I'm just going to read you the English translations for these songs. So, the first track, of course, is El Loco, which, again, we all know is Spanish for crazy here. The next one is basically Spanish for Losing North. Third one here is very self-explanatory. It is definitely Confusion. The fourth track here is actually Spanish for Sad Lackey. The fifth song, well, it's again self-explanatory, so it's basically Toxic. Next one, again, self-explanatory. To repeat that word again here, is, Spanish for Redemption. Next one, same, Slave. Number 8 here, again, this one actually is Spanish for the direct end. Track number 9 here is basically Spanish for Disappointed. And finally, song number 10, the last song here, La Senda, is actually Spanish for The Path. So, there's your 10 songs. Now, since if you're still not very much familiar with Agresiva, these guys have, as far as my history with this band, back in 2020, when I began really doing more album reviews for this channel, especially looking for albums that weren't from Britain, UK, Germany, Britain, UK, the same thing, sorry there, Germany, Sweden, Norway, or of course Canada, and here in the United States. Instead of looking for albums from those, again, the more notable countries to find albums to review and listen, I also decided to take some time to really look into some non-English spoken albums. So I basically began looking for a few albums, especially from Spain, since I know there still is a very much a solid scene in Spain, since we all know, again, there's a host of metal who, even though he was from the Netherlands, or Belgium, I think, either way, from that place, ended up moving to, of course, Spain, and introduced most of the vinyl community into like some of the more Spanish metal bands, I guess, especially from the new wave or traditional heavy metal movement. I just began looking for more other albums from at least that country to probably review, and one of them was a band called Slow Burn. And I reviewed right now is still their only debut album right now that they've had out since 2020. So I reviewed that album, and after I reviewed that one, I ended up getting I believe it was an email through, of course, my Gmail account from one of the band members in Slow Burn, who ended up at least recommending me checking out one of his earlier bands, and that was Agresiva. And the album they had out at that time was El Fin de la Razón, or Razón. And from there on, I was introduced to Agresiva, and so that was the only album. And so far, that's been the only album that I've at least have been familiar with from Agresiva. But I thought it was a very fine thrash metal album. So, finding out that they had released a new album this year, again, Pánico escénico, again, Spanish for Scenic Panic, I had to, of course, at least listen to it and check it out and still show my support for this band. And so, getting around to actually listening to this album, from what I remember of at least the previous album, El Fin de la Razón, I thought it was a really good album. However, after listening to Pánico escénico, as plenty of times I have given this album, I have to really be honest with you. I think this might be, better than the previous album. I think there's a lot more, it's more hookier, more catchier in its delivery, and definitely has more gusto in its overall attack and overall performance. I think everything's more top-notch here. I mean, just listen to, of course, the songs like El Loco, against Losing North, Confusion, Sad Lackey, the Direct End, and The Path. Especially The Path is the longest song on the album. Again, La Senda, again, English translation, The Path. This is the only really long song on the album because for the most part, most of the songs at least don't even make it to at least the 4-minute mark. Everything is within under 30 minutes, or even at times a little bit over 30 minutes. 3 minutes, Under 3 minutes, over a little over 3 minutes. Can't speak today for some reason. Either way, everything's pretty short on the album. But La Senda, English, of course, English translation, The Path, this is the longest song on the album because this one is basically 7 minutes and 50 seconds. And it is a very well constructed song. I wouldn't say it pushes to being proggy, but it does really kind of push around at least the time changes here and there. But it's still very much what you expect from at least a thrash metal band whenever performing a really more longer constructed song. And this one's definitely, I think, one of the crown jewels of the album. I think it was I would say a great way to end the album. But there's so many good songs on here. Even if they come out as short, they are very well played, and they do keep my attention quite a bit. And nothing loses my attention. There really isn't anything on this album that I find to be really bad at all. Everything is very much top-notch performed. Vocal-wise, everything is the performances just, I think, are overall even better than the performances on the previous album. And again, I thought the previous album was really good, but this one is just more stronger to me. It's a lot more solid, and that's all I'm going to say. And I think, again, the fact that I think even the production, the mixing of this album, I think is probably even better than the previous one. It just has a lot more oomph behind it. Has more, I guess, huevos behind it. It's more gutsier in a way. I just really think this is a much more solid album, and I think there's a lot of great songs in here. Performances are just fantastic. So that's really all I have to really say about it, other than it's just a really good album, and I really do recommend this one to those who have at least a more exotic at least an exotic open mind, or looking who want to at least check out some more, again, albums within their, at least their comfortable genre frame, that at least somehow, at least isn't completely sung in their, and everything, like not sung in English. This is at least a really good album if you really just want to check out a really good, solid thrash metal album. I think there's some great songs in here. I mean, it is almost pushing it to be more speed metal, heavy metal kind of sort of terrain here, but for the most part, it's very much thrash. And there's a lot of good songs on here in terms of being very thrashy kind of songs. But overall, I just really can't get over the fact that the performances are just more solid here than previously. So I probably would say this might be the closest to one of the best albums I think I've heard from Agresiva. It's a really good album from beginning to end. So that's all I got to say here. So there it is, folks. There's my overall thoughts on Pánico escénico. Again, English translation, Scenic Panic. So to give you my overall rating for this album, I'm giving it a 9.05 out of 10. Again, I just think it's a really good album, and I don't know what rating I gave El Fendilo Raisin, but at least it must have been somewhere within probably, the 8.0, 8.25 or something like that, kind of rating. I don't think I ever gave it nearly that high of a rating, so this is probably the highest I've ever given an album from Agresiva here. So I think it's a really good album. So again, I recommend checking out this album. I'm going to do my best to leave you to, of course, their Bandcamp page where you can check out the album. Hopefully also purchase the album if it's at least up for sale at Bandcamp. So there it is. That's it. I hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrash saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.